What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a lovely day today and I hope it gets even better from watching this video. Today we're chatting all about detachment. That is actually a topic I've never covered or even touched on my channel, but I've always wanted to just because I feel like it's one of those topics that's like, doesn't feel very tangible. It's like, what even is it? It's like it's floating in the air and you're like, I don't get it. How do I do this? So I wanted to do a whole video about it so we can really dive in, explain what it is, and give like tangible examples, practices, tips, tricks, all of that. If you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Nika. Welcome. I make videos all about self-improvement and I like to make them very tangible. Like these are the exercises, the journaling prompts, whatever you need so you can actually make the changes that you want. So if that works for you, I would love for you to stick around and subscribe and check out my social media if you want to see more of my personal life. And without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, the first thing we need to do is have kind of like a basic understanding of what detachment is. Of course, you'll get like a full grasp and understanding of it as we go throughout this video and you hear all the examples, but let me paint you a picture, which is pretty ironic, by the way. So before detachment, you can kind of imagine yourself as a leaf being blown away from one direction to another. And you're being blown away based on the circumstances around you, the outcomes of things, if something went right, wrong, what someone said about you, what they think about you, how they feel about you, etc. You don't have that strong core, that root keeping you in place. Of course, practicing detachment doesn't mean that you're not human. Things will rattle you, things will upset you. But when they do, it doesn't change the makeup of who you are, who you believe you are, your worth, your value. That kind of core stays the same. In practicing detachment, you're consistently acknowledging you cannot control other people and you cannot control outcomes of things. You can't control it all. And in trying to do so, you waste so much time and energy that could be better spent. And you drive yourself crazy and you never actually find that safety and security that you're looking for because there's no end to it. There's no end to control. There's no end goal. It's like being on a consistent hamster wheel. It's the ironic picture of you're trying to control everything, but you're actually a leaf being swayed from one direction to another that has no root, no core. The place where you find that stability is in yourself, is growing those roots that keep you in place regardless of what's going on around you. You're rooted in yourself and you fundamentally understand that you can withstand anything that comes your way. It's like a deep calmness and trust in yourself that once you cultivate, no one can ever take away. An amazing way to learn about detachment, trust in yourself, and have these healthy mindsets and beliefs is therapy. You guys know I'm a huge advocate for therapy. I've been in therapy for over 10 years. It has changed my entire existence. An amazing way to try therapy is BetterHelp, and this video is kindly sponsored by them. Trust me, I know how scary it can be to start therapy, so BetterHelp makes the whole experience a lot more comfortable. It's online therapy, so it's totally up to you if you do it through a phone call, a video chat, or even through messages, and you can schedule a session at a time that's convenient for you and from the comfort of your own home. So BetterHelp basically connects you with a licensed therapist who's trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. You can click the link in the description box or visit betterhelp.com/Nika if you want to try it out, but it's really easy to get started. You basically fill out a questionnaire to assess your specific needs, and then you'll get matched with a therapist in most cases within 48 hours or less. If you've tried traditional therapy before, then you know how hard it can be to get that first initial appointment, or there might not even be a lot of options for your specific needs in your area. So BetterHelp is amazing because they have such a large range of expertise. They have over 30,000 therapists in their network. And if the therapist you're first matched with doesn't really feel like the right fit, you can easily switch to a new one at no additional cost. Over 4 million people have used BetterHelp to start living a healthier, happier life. You guys know I'm a huge, massive advocate for therapy. I have done traditional therapy for a while and then I switched to online a few years ago and I've been doing that ever since and I love it. So I really hope you can find the right fit and get the same benefits as I have. You can click the link in the description box or visit betterhelp.com/Nika. That will give you 10% off your first month so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. Thank you so much to BetterHelp. Now let's move on to the rest of the tips and tricks. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to create a visual representation, like a picture in your mind of what this part of yourself looks like. So this part that is calm, that is trusting, that is rooted in place. If you want to use this leaf analogy, you can imagine that now this leaf has roots and it's no longer being blown away. This is totally up to you. I personally like to imagine it as the eye of the storm. You know how like tornadoes have this part on the inside, a small part where it's completely calm. That's how I like to imagine this part of myself. So no matter what's going on, there's always that part. It really helps to have that visual representation to come back to, and you'll see why. Just you wait. The next step is cultivating a positive and beneficial belief system. So you don't have to be religious or spiritual for this, but it really, really helps to have a belief of things are happening for me, or everything happens for a reason. That is gonna help to cultivate that deep trust and calmness, so you're not that leaf being swayed from one direction to another. This can be trust in the universe, in God, in karma. That is none of my business. You believe in what you want to believe. So when you have this belief that things are happening for me, everything happens for a reason, when difficult things happen, you're so much better at persevering and dealing with them. And maybe in the moment you don't know what the reason is, okay? Most of the time you don't, and you're like, can't wait to learn why I have to do this. But you have that trust going through it, and you're like, this is gonna make sense in a little bit. Like, I'm gonna understand why I had to go through this hard situation in order to become better, to grow, to learn whatever lesson I needed to learn. So the question you're constantly asking yourself, what am I meant to learn from this? What did I learn from this? Why did this have to happen to me? And not from a place of, I'm a victim, why did this happen to me? But like, why did it have to happen to me? It's like a character development in a book or a movie. They always have to go through something difficult in order to persevere. So what is it for you in that particular situation or whatever you're going through? If you don't already have this belief, or if you want to really reaffirm it, sit down and give yourself examples. So I had to go through that breakup in order to learn what I want in a relationship, to learn how to love myself, to do XYZ. I had to lose that job in order to push me to try crocheting, and now that's my business and I finally do what I love. You know, just give they can be smaller examples. Just give yourself at least 3 that you can think of to either start cultivating that belief or reframe it. With this belief, you're also practicing cognitive reframing, which is so healthy for you. It's so healthy for your mindset. And if you want a whole video about this, let me know. Cognitive reframing is basically you changing the meaning of the story, or changing the meaning of the experience that you had to go through. So let's say you were cheated on. So the story that you've been telling yourself since it happened is, I was cheated on. I don't know how to pick partners. I'm obviously unworthy. I'm unlovable. I'm never going to find someone. That is a story that you're telling yourself. That is not an absolute universal truth. That is just something you are telling yourself, and you can change that story. So you reframing this would be, I got cheated on. It sucked. It was really hard to go through. You don't have to lie to yourself. It sucked. Okay, that's fine. But because of it, I now know which signs to look for in dating, in a future partner. I know what I will not tolerate. I know how I don't want to be treated. And because that situation was difficult and hard and painful, I decided to go into therapy, and that led me to cultivate some self-worth and some self-love that I was definitely lacking. And because of that, I will never allow myself to be treated like this, because now I fundamentally understand that I deserve more. That is cognitive reframing. And again, I can make a whole video about this, but having this belief and this skill that you can do is going to help you so much not to be swayed all over the place, because you have that deep-rooted trust that things are happening for me. And therefore, I don't need to control everything, because things are happening for me. Things are happening for a reason. And again, giving yourself examples of how this has happened in the past is really, really helpful. The next thing that you're going to practice is consistently letting go and letting people, situations show themselves. Let them show you. So it's you kind of stepping back, going into this eye of the storm, this rooted place, whatever you visualized, and observing and letting things happen. And this is a practice. If you're a control freak, this is going to take some practice, okay? And that's why it's important to cultivate those belief systems, visualize how this core looks like there's a reason why we did that before, okay? Otherwise, it's very difficult. It's scary. I get it. Let's say a guy asks you out on a first date. You really like this guy, you've never gone on a date, but he doesn't really make very specific plans. It's like, let's hang out on the weekend. And then Saturday rolls around, he hasn't confirmed, he hasn't made any specific plans, and you're like anxiously thinking about it. You're like, is it happening? Is it not happening? Your kind of whole day revolves around it. You want to kind of secure the situation by asking him, are we still on? When are we meeting up? So in this case, you're going to practice letting go, detachment. You're going to go into that all-knowing, trusting, calm-rooted place, and you're going to observe, and you're going to let them show you. Wouldn't you want to know who this person is without your input and without your control? What would their actions be like if you didn't try to control the situation? I would want to know. Like, I would want to know who I'm getting into a situation with. Let them show you who they are. And then you can decide for yourself if that is something you want or not. I have a whole series on dating. So if you want to know like what to do in that situation, how to value yourself, I'll link that down below. This video is not about that. Practicing disbelief and consistently letting go and deciding to trust instead of control is hard. Okay, it is not the easiest thing to do, but it is a practice and you're gonna get better the more you do it. One little exercise or trick that's really gonna help you when it comes to detaching and letting go from those situations or those outcomes that you really want is figuring out which feeling is attached to it. Because a lot of the time it's not even about this goal or this outcome that you're so obsessively trying to achieve. It's actually about the feeling that's attached to it. You're working yourself to the bone to get to this top of the mountain, and then when you get there, you're like, oh. Okay, so an example here. If I get this 6-figure job, then I will finally be worthy. I will be worthy of love. Maybe you grew up in a situation where you constantly had to achieve in order to get any sort of attention or love. So a person like that would be very prone to working so hard towards something because they think that that will finally make them feel worthy. So now you can separate the outcome from the feeling, the 6-figure job from feeling worthy. And you can go, okay, how can I feel worthy in other ways? This is not the end all be all, like the only way I can feel worthy. And that kind of takes the pressure off this outcome that isn't fully in your control. It is in your control, however, to feel worthy. You can feel worthy in so many different ways. You can start working on that right now. You do not need that 6-figure job. So as you can tell, it kind of takes the like magnetism off. Your teeth are not like gripping it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, I still want that 6-figure job. That's fine. But I am now going to work on this self-worth thing here on the side. And I'm going to try all sorts of different ways to feel that way that are in my control. And that means going to therapy, doing self-worth exercises, reading books about it, doing things, spending time with people that make me feel that way, you know. That is in your control, and that is you refocusing that energy, the energy that you were using to control this outcome and to desperately get this job, and you're focusing it back in yourself, onto yourself. There are 2 questions that are going to help you get to that feeling. So the first question is, how will it feel once I achieve it? If the answer is like, it will feel good, then you ask yourself, why will it feel good? And you basically question it until you get to that root emotion, and you will know once you get there, you feel it. The other question is, what will having this mean about me? So what will having this 6-figure job mean about me? Try both, see whichever one works best for you, and it will really, really help you to be able to practice detachment and letting go and refocusing that energy back into yourself. I also highly recommend using these questions anytime you're setting any kind of goal, just to figure out if the goal is actually authentic. I have a whole video where I talked about this, so I'll link that down below. If you're in a situation where you realize that you're really desperately trying to control something, a question that can be helpful here, just a little bonus, is if I let go and stop controlling XYZ, what do I think will happen? And that can give you some insight. And once you make the unconscious conscious, the reason why you're trying so desperately to control something, it removes a lot of that grip that it has. Let's dive a little bit further into how to detach from outcomes that you really like honestly, authentically, genuinely want. Again, I want to hammer in that it's normal to have wants and needs. It is human to have those. It is healthy to have those. And we're not trying to detach from those, okay? So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say I really want to be a mom, right? So that is an authentic, genuine desire for me. So if you know that you authentically, genuinely really want this, you're not gonna try to trick yourself into not wanting this and call that detachment. That is not the same thing, okay? So the way to practice detachment here is, I want to be a mom. I don't know how that's gonna look like. I don't know who it's gonna be with. I don't know when it's gonna happen. I don't know the gender of these kids. I don't know. Surprise me. You're practicing like openness of, I don't know what this is gonna look like, but I'm gonna trust that it's gonna be the best outcome for me. And then instead of having that desperate energy of trying desperately to find someone by this age and doing this and this and that, trying to control where each piece goes and all of that, you're going to refocus that energy back into yourself. So an example here would be focus on becoming a person that would be an amazing mother, learning patience, learning about child development and psychology, going into therapy to learn to manage your own emotions and stress and everything so it doesn't affect your child as much. Basically shifting that energy back into yourself. And with that, you're still very clear, like, I want to be a mom. Like that is clear to everyone, okay? And it's still you moving forward with what you desire, but it's not you trying to desperately control and like figure out all the pieces. You don't always get what you want, but you get what you need. And that is another part of that belief. Things are happening for me that is so beneficial and positive and amazing to have. I was editing this video and I completely forgot I wanted to share this story, which I felt like was important to showcase this, like an example of you don't always get what you want, but you get what you need. So when I was 18, I really, really desperately wanted to move out. I wanted to get my own place. I was very, very adamant about this and I was desperate, okay? I've been wanting to do it for years. I was waiting to turn 18. Like this was very important to me. I was very particular with what I wanted and it just kept not working out. Like once I turned 18, I was looking at so many places. I was going to listings. I even tried to move in with a friend at some point and things didn't work out with her. Like it just consistently was not working out. And I was like gripping this outcome and this desire to move out, okay? I was not practicing detachment in any way, shape, or form. Girly did not know what this was, okay? And what happened is I kind of let go and detached because I was sick of it. Like I got so sick of like trying and I was like, this is not working out. Like I just give up. And then I went to a party with a friend and we met a guy who was a friend of that friend I went with. And we ended up missing our bus that was supposed to take us back home. And he invited us to sleep at his place because he had an extra room. And so I slept over there. And the next day I was like, do you guys need a roommate? Because this room, you said it was empty. Like, I'm looking for a place. And I ended up moving in like, I think a week later, not even. And that place was not what I wanted, okay? It did not look like the way I had it envisioned. It was not in an area that I was looking in. It wasn't like beautiful. It was not that, but it ended up being one of the best decisions I have ever made. I cannot stress that enough. Like that changed my life. I think it changed the course of my life, to be honest. I know it sounds very dramatic, but the things like how much work I put into myself, what was happening during that time was so crucial for me. And one of my roommates ended up being someone whose like relationship with him or friendship changed me forever and always. And I am so grateful to him. So sometimes you don't get exactly what you pictured, you don't get what you want, but you get exactly what you need. I could not have imagined or designed a better situation for myself if I tried. Like I could not have done it, and it ended up being truly the most amazing thing for me. So that's a little example, and it obviously helps to think of your own examples if you have any when you're trying to cultivate a belief, just to have some proof of it, to be like, I believe this for a reason. Your brain is not dumb, it needs proof. So give yourself that, or try looking for it if you can't think of anything, or listen to other people's stories. Like bring this up with a friend and be like, do you have any stories like that? Let me know if you guys want to see a video about how to practice detachment specifically in relationships, because there's a misconception that practicing detachment is going to make you cold and aloof or a bitch or whatever. The reason why that is not true is because people on some level, even if it's unconscious, they feel you trying to control or manipulate them. Even if you think you're being so sly and so like amazing at it. And as women, we are masters at this, okay? And many of us don't even realize how often we're doing this, especially if you're in a romantic relationship. It is insane. Let me know if you want me to dive into that topic like separately, and I would gladly do it, because it's wild. Like we are witches, not always in a good way. When you practice detachment in any kind of relationship, you are basically allowing people to be free, to be completely themselves. And that is very loving. People feel worthy, they feel loved, they feel understood, they feel accepted. You also cultivate a relationship of trust, because just imagine being with someone who's constantly trying to mold and shift you into what they want and trying to control and manipulate you. Trust and believe that is not going to be someone you trust. That is not going to be a relationship that is pleasant and trusting. It's going to be a relationship full of resentment. So when you notice yourself trying to control someone or a relationship, and Again, I want to make a whole video about it because there's so many ways that we as women do this that we don't even notice. Like, you trying to fix him is a prime example of you trying to control a situation that you have no business controlling. He is his own person who is allowed to do his own thing. And the little question that I always ask myself that really promotes some humility is like, who are you? Like, I ask that myself, like, who are you to try, like, are you some sort of Buddha who knows everything? Do you have your life completely figured out? No. So what gives you the right to try to control them and try to get them to do what you want, to try to fix them, change them, mold them into what suits you? What exactly gives you that right? I don't know. So with practicing detachment, you give people the freedom to be themselves. It creates like a lightness, a playfulness, and it actually gives the person the freedom to come closer to you. So again, even in a relationship example, you are pouring that energy back into yourself. When you catch yourself doing it, and that is the first step, is catching yourself doing it. Because again, it's so natural for us, and there are reasons for this. Not that we're some like evil people. There are reasons why we do this. You're gonna pour your energy back into yourself. That is the key, especially when it comes to like relationships, dating. The more you detach, the more you learn about yourself, the more you grow, because you have more time and energy to put into that, because you're not wasting it trying to fix and mold and shape things to be what you think you want. Lean back into who you are, work on yourself, like figure out what you want in life. What are your needs? What do you want to do with your life? Who are you? Like, work on yourself, take responsibility over yourself, and let others take responsibility over themselves and their lives. That is not your job at all. And it's very unloving. It's not like a nice behavior. At the end of the day, you could have a mansion, $1 million, all the notoriety and prestige and all of that, and yet you still wake up with yourself. You go to bed with yourself. Wherever you go, there you are. So focus on that. That is the one thing you can actually control. If you have no idea where to start when it comes to pouring the energy back into yourself and working on yourself, my whole channel is about this. If you don't know where to start, I have a whole playlist about self-worth and confidence. I feel like that might be a good place to start, so I'll link that down below. Desperation is truly the strongest scent in the universe, okay? It's very unattractive. And you focusing on yourself, having that self-worth, having that deep-rooted trust and calmness in who you are is insanely attractive. And with cultivating that, with working on that, with redirecting that energy back into that instead of controlling, you're letting things that are not for you fall away naturally. And the things you actually attract in your life when you're practicing detachment and you have that magnetic energy are puzzle pieces that actually fit. And you don't have to spend your life consistently controlling and trying to fit and mold things to work for you and to work in your life. That is so much of your precious time and energy wasted, and it is exhausting. And I don't want that for you. I hope this video helped you out. It is kind of like again, a topic that's kind of hard to explain. I hope this helped you and gave you some examples and some practices and little tips and tricks you can try out. We can cover this topic more if you want to. Let me know. If you like this video, I would love for you to stick around and subscribe and check out my social media if you want to see more of my personal life. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you very, very soon.